Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Side Hustle Ideas. I am Bill, the company's expert, and this is the live stream where we talk about side hustles and its larger world, the world of entrepreneurship and small business. And the title of today's episode is called Create Your Own Job, because that's essentially what this is. If you are between jobs right now, if you are not absolutely panicked for finding a new job immediately, something that just brings income in, and you have a little bit of time to explore opportunities as you go through this process. This is also a period where a lot of people discover the wonderful world of side hustles. And one aspect of that is being able to create your own job. That means you create something that works for you, that relies on all your strengths and doesn't depend on any of your weaknesses. And that's something that we haven't really covered in this live stream. So that's what we're going to get into today. This is a interactive live stream. So if you're seeing my beautiful face right now, you should see a chat somewhere nearby, either below or next to the feed. And you can get in the chat and you can ask me questions, anything related to startups, side hustles, business, that kind of thing. What I talk about is essentially what you guys are looking to learn and to hear. So whatever that is. Yeah, I don't have too much of a plan today besides that, but I see that there's 20 people here. Thank you so much for being here on this beautiful Monday morning. Actually, it's a miserable Monday morning where I am. It is cloudy and rainy, but that's okay because we've had a lot of wildfires and stuff up here in Canada, and a lot of smoke in the air. And so this is the weather that a lot of people are looking forward to, I'd imagine. Already we've got, how do you say this? Faraz? Warsi says, really love the work and the effort you put in for these videos. They're massive help. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Faraz. That's very kind of you. And David says, best side hustles, please. Well, listen, there isn't a one size fits all. There's the best side hustle is going to be something that's adapted to what you like doing. If you're an extrovert, you're going to like doing certain things. If you're an introvert, you're going to like doing other things. So if you could, I can help you if you give me a bit more information about what you do, what's your background, what's your skill set, and if you have a particular skill, because all side hustle depend on you providing value to someone else. Okay, it could be a business, could be an end user like you or me, an individual. If there's something you can do, let's say you are in the world of 3D printing or something. Well, that's something that you could probably really exploit to make some money on the side. It's about providing value. If you are more into sports, if you are more into therapy, if you are more into you're more of a technician, you technical kind of stuff. If you're someone that's into arts and crafts and this sort of thing, these suggest obvious routes to figure out what you would do as a side hustle, right? And then the next big question would be, what are your skill sets? If you're someone who has a background in sales or marketing, you've done that kind of thing before in your life, you understand what's involved, you understand what it looks like when it's being done right, what it looks like when it's not being done right. That's going to also further inform how you go about doing this. If you haven't had any experience like that and you're starting from scratch and you're wondering, like, how do I get this out there? I can create something, but I don't know who would buy it or who would be interested and where they would be and how I would reach them and what I would say. Then you're coming from another place and that would suggest a different path. So it really depends on a lot of these factors, but knowing some of these, we can start to narrow it down and get some ideas. I'm not a big fan of people just sort of put out there like, oh, okay, these 10 ideas are the best. It's like, no, they're not. They're clearly not. You could say these 10 ideas are among the easiest for someone to start up. You don't need any equipment or tooling or special skills. But does it mean that you can succeed in it? No, it doesn't. If you hate doing that kind of thing, you're not going to succeed, usually, right? So there's a lot of factors here, and you got to put a little bit of more, thought into it. like most things, like answers to most big questions, it isn't just a sort of easy thing. But we can get into that if you would like. So get in the chat, let me know, and we can explore that if people want to do that. And certainly, David, if you give me more to go on, we can go down the path. Yes. So once again, I don't have much of an agenda. I'm just going to go on what you guys say. But the great thing about this is that, and that's actually kind of the theme of this episode, because the theme of the episode is create your own job. The idea is that you can fully customize what you're doing to you. Okay? You don't get that in a conventional job. Usually you have to conform to the wishes of the employer, right? They're looking for someone very specific. They have something very specific in mind about what you're going to be spending your time on, how you're going to go about doing your job, what you're going to do, the resources you're going to need, and the method you're going to use, right? That's all usually predetermined for you. You just have to sort of paint by numbers and do it. The beautiful thing about this world is that unlike the world of education and the world of employment, which most people, we certainly start out our lives in that world, but now we're in the real world, there are no rules, okay? Apart from the law of the land that says you can't kill someone, etc., there are no rules. You can go about this any way you want. You can create something that works for you. Having a side hustle or having any business is based on providing value to somebody. Okay, so the big question is, what value can you provide and to whom? Right? And we can all provide value. Now, some people, it'll be very unskilled type things, right? They just need a warm body. Like, for example, if you're doing the thing where you drive people around, like an Uber type thing, right? You need someone who can drive a car, the end, right? But a lot of us have more skills than just that, right? And usually the more skilled you are, or the more highly specialized your skill, the more potential you have to provide more value to people, right? This is the great thing. So one of the things, if you're looking for what could you do and you're trying to answer that question, usually one of the things we're going to be covering is, well, what can I do? And I'm sure if you think hard enough, you could make a list of 20, 30 things that you could do for someone else that would be very valuable, right? Everyone's going to have the unskilled stuff, right? Delivering pizza, whatever. You're going to have that. But if you look at like what your education is, if you look at what skills you have, these could be skills that you picked up outside of your education, something you did as a hobby, right? Do you know something, right? Do you have knowledge in a certain area? Maybe you've played sports for many years. Maybe you've played a specific sport for many years, right? And you think like, well, what could I do with that? Well, you could coach people, right? You could use your knowledge of that thing. So even a hobby, right, that you might think, oh, that doesn't have a lot of practical applications, even that, you can use it as a springboard to figure out what could you do, right? I mean, sports is, as you can probably tell from my physique, sports is not my forte, right? But I mean, already just looking at it from the outside, you know that there's a lot of different paths you could take. You could do the coaching thing. You could do the personal training thing. You could become like a referee. You could become a commentator. You could write. You could get yourself a digital camera and take pictures of games and things like this. And that can lead to something. I mean, there's different paths you can go on. So it's a matter of starting with what you have and what you would like to do. Because if you're passionate about a certain thing, that also will be a starting point as a springboard for what could you do. Some things, there's really not that much to it. If you have the desire to learn and the passion for it, you can learn the basics very quickly indeed, and then you could get started with something there. So, So get in the chat. Let me know what you're wondering and what you're looking for, what you're struggling with, if you're trying to overcome a challenge or figure out a solution to a problem. And I will do my best to ramble on interminably, and hopefully you get some value somewhere in there. Yeah, I was going to do these on my second channel, and I ran into some technical problems doing that. I'm also getting into shorts and stuff these days. So I had to grapple with the technology. The technology I'm using is ancient. The computer that I'm using for this live stream is like 13 years old, something like that. I built it, but I built it 13 years ago. So it's a little obsolete, shall we say. I'm really going to have to change that soon. Yes, there's 25 people here. Thank you for being here. Get in the chat. Let me know what you're struggling with. In the past, some people were complaining that some comments and things were being filtered out. I went and I checked and I found that there's like a little box on YouTube you can tick that says increased strictness for comments. And I that was checked and I unchecked that. So hopefully there'll be less issues with people writing comments and they don't get through. But we'll see. Not a lot of stuff. Oh, here we go. David says, I'm a supervisor in a company and work most of the time during the day, and I need to start a side hustle. I have no idea. Okay, well, what would you like to do, David? Let's start with that. I mean, that's at the very basics. That's the beginning. Okay. If you don't know a specific thing, let's talk about types of things. Do you like to work with people? You say you're a supervisor, that could go both ways. Some supervisors are real extroverts and some are introverts. Are you the type of person that would like to meet a ton of people all the time? Meet new people, talk to new people? Or do you shy away from that? You prefer to do something online? You prefer to do something from your own home, remotely? You know, you put something out there, you don't really have to interact with people. We could start with that. I'm a good driver. Is Uber recommended? I would recommend things like that, like unskilled type startups. Okay, I would recommend that to people that are very young, that are kind of starting out in their early 20s. You've never done anything like this before. Okay, I would recommend it to those people. Also, people that don't have a higher skill set. Okay, so if you've got a master's degree in something or you've got highly specialized knowledge, maybe you've worked for 20 years in a certain industry or field, you have specialized skills in that industry. You could, for example, consult on stuff in that industry if you wanted, right? I would not necessarily recommend it to people that are in that place, okay? Because, I mean, you might be able to make it work. And if you enjoy doing that kind of thing, sure, yeah, great, all the more power. But I think you could shoot for something higher, something that pays a bit better, something that's a bit more upscale. It would be more efficient. Okay, you don't have to work quite as hard to make as much money, potentially. That's generally how I would go. And as I said, the exception would be if you're just passionate about doing that. If you just want to drive people around, it's a way of clearing your mind of all the stresses of work and the stresses of your industry. You just want to do something that's different intentionally and make a bit of money on the side. Then, okay, that could fill that. It depends what your situation is. What I would do is I would start with what you want to do, and I would start with specialized skill set. Okay, what special knowledge do you have or experience do you have? I would start with that. That usually leads to more interesting things. It leads to something more customized to you. You're not one of like 10,000 people in your city doing this. It also leads to something that you're more interested in. It's more tailored to you, and you can do it more your way. Okay, as we go downscale, like we go to generic unskilled stuff like Uber, there tends to be less and less variation. Okay, for example, how do you customize an Uber type job? Well, I'm sure you can, but it's limited in how you could tailor that to your particular needs, right? If you do something more specialized, there's a lot greater potential to fine tune it and customize it to your specific wants, wills, needs, and rhythms, right? So that's what I would say just in general. Okay. But yeah, that's kind of one of those cliched things everybody says, oh, just do a driver. Like being a delivery person, right? That's another one. Like a courier, everyone always talks about that. I think the reason everyone talks about it is because a lot of people in their early 20s, or maybe even their late teens, are maybe interested in this as a concept. And that's kind of the starting point, right? Something generic, something unskilled. The advantage is that it's a known quantity, right? If you say I'm a driver, I'm an Uber driver, people know what that is. If you say I'm a basketball personal trainer, coach, and whatever, some customized thing, performance enhancement coach, they might not know exactly what that is, right? So it's a bit of a harder sell because it's more customized and specialized, right? But one advantage of these generic things is that it's a known quantity. I'm a dog walker. Okay, enough said. I know what that is. I know who would need it. And I understand that it's a legitimate thing. Right? Yeah, so hopefully that gives some direction. But yeah, like anyone else that's wondering this kind of stuff, the key is put some details in. Like if somebody just sends you a message and says, hi, I'm a person, what should I do? Well, it's kind of hard to go on, right? I mean, you could give some general platitude, like believe in yourself, kind of stuff like that, right? But it's not super helpful. Where it's helpful is when you get a more customized kind of thing that deals with your specific situation. So in order to do that, we need details. I have different camera angles here that I should occasionally use because it totally makes this more interesting. We can also get online and look stuff up together. Let's do that together just for the sheer hell of it. What side hustle should I do? Let's just see what it says. I'm just curious. 25 side hustles. Let's talk about this. Ooh, Shopify. Let's see if the top one is to work for Shopify. Oh, here we go. Monetize a YouTube channel. There we go. Sell digital products, become an IRL or an online tutor. What's an IRL? I don't know. Deliver packages, start a podcast. Yeah. Like, once again, I mean, that is something that people talk about too. The content creation thing, right? If you have something to say about a certain thing, in a certain area, that can be an option too. Speaking from experience with that, don't expect it to instantly pay off. You have to put a bit of time on it for it to get started. That's like a lot of things too. You got to put a little bit of time in. But what's really cool is if you can do a side hustle that serves a couple of different purposes. It can make money for you, okay, but also it can demonstrate your skills. So if you are between jobs right now and you're not really sure what you want to do next, if you want to just get a job or you want to start your own thing, you can do something that fulfills both purposes. So it also is a demonstration of your abilities, right? And if you know how to spin that, that can help you get a job if that's the direction you want to go in the future. Okay, it can be a demonstration of your abilities and your capabilities. So that's another factor that might affect what you decide to do. So get in the chat. Let me know. Let me know what you're wondering. Let me know what you're struggling with right now and how to go about doing it. Yeah, like there's two big areas of business. Okay, there's two things that kind of come together to determine how to make money. The first is operations. The second is marketing. You put those two together, you do both of them correctly, and you make money. It's just that simple. Operations is providing something. Okay, either it's a product or it's a service. Okay, some people, they like to make products. If you're a technician, if you're in arts and crafts, that kind of thing, certainly you're going to be making products. You create something and then sell it. If you could also go the service side. If you're certainly a technician or someone like that, yes, you could provide services. You could repair things or whatever. If you want to do more consulting, that kind of stuff, you're providing a service, right? Okay. So that's kind of the first part of it. And depending if you're an introvert or an extrovert, or if you have a background in sales and stuff, you're going to be thinking of that first. Okay. A lot of introverts, a lot of technical people, they think that side of things first. They think, what could I do? Okay. The other part of this that's equally important is the marketing side. That's where you take whatever it is that you're offering, whether it's a product or service, and you try and get someone to buy it. Okay. Someone has to pay you for it. You provide value to them, and in turn, they pay you, right? So for this to work, you can't just think of like, what could I do? You've got to think of like, how am I going to sell this, right? Now, if you're an extrovert, if you've got a background in sales, that's what you're going to think of first. You're going to think of that side of the problem first, and then worry about what you're going to provide later on, right? Okay. But you got to get both of these down. They have to be done correctly for the whole thing to work. Okay, we got a few comments here. Let's see. Dark says, hello, may I ask, this may not relate to the stream title, but which books would you recommend so I can talk others better? Okay, talk to others better and understand others' intentions better. I just turned 18 and I realize that I'm naive and no adults show mercy in the business world. Okay, listen, Dark. First of all, let me say that you are awesome for taking an interest in this kind of thing. A lot of people at the age of 18, this is not even on their radar. They're just completely oblivious to this, okay? So you are already ahead of the game by starting to take an interest in this kind of thing. It's awesome. It can be a gateway to you doing something that you're really into and also making a fortune doing it, okay? Like that's where this can go. Okay. Now, that being said, you do need to learn a little bit. Okay. Now, in terms of like what books to recommend, in all honesty, I'm not really in tune with a lot of the sort of coffee table books about like business. That, you know, that's something you do before you really get into the legitimate stuff. Okay. Which are basically textbooks. Okay, if you want to know marketing, you read a textbook on marketing. You don't read a coffee table book. Somebody just wrote a book for fun. Now, one thing you can do, okay, is you can read the real stories of people that have succeeded. Okay, something I did many years ago is I read, a lot of the early sort of startup Silicon Valley type stuff. I read like Bill Gates's books, and was it Gordon Moore, the guy from Intel? It wasn't Gordon Moore, the other guy. But anyway, the Intel story, how they started, like that's great for inspiration. In terms of like applying lessons, not so much, but in terms of like, how you think and some things that can be done, those are interesting. But in terms of learning, if you just want to learn it for picking up knowledge as opposed to inspiration. Personally, I mean, I'm biased because I'm selling a course on this, but I would go the way of textbooks, okay? Now, that's what I would say. There's a few basic things like popular business books like How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's kind of simplistic in its basic premise, but it's still valid. It's well worth you taking, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to read that. Okay, that would be a great starting point. It will help you develop social skills. You talked about understanding how to talk to people and get them to want to talk to you. That's a great starting point, okay? How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was written in, the 30s or something, and it's never been out of print since then. Like it's been around for a very long time. Okay, but there's a reason for that. It's because it's valid and it's universal. So I would start with that, okay? There's a lot more to know than that. Then you need to know business. Like that's sort of how to talk to people and how to act. But beyond that, you need to know business, especially if you want to start a business yourself. You need to know actual business. For that, you know what I'm going to say. You guys know what I'm going to say. I would recommend that you investigate my course, because basically my course here, the $100 MBA, it's a reading list of textbooks. I give you the reading list. You go out, you buy them off Amazon for like $5. And these are textbooks, but they're it's certainly if you're 18, if you've got high school under your belt, you can understand these. And you read the actual knowledge. You don't read someone's weird interpretation of it. You read the actual knowledge, and you can read only the bits that you're interested in, or you can read all of it, or you can just skim it, or you could go super in depth, whatever you want. And that will provide you a ton of value. So that's what I'd say about that. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, coming back to David here. David says, let's say this. I have $2,000. Which side hustle that fits that cash, please? Well, once again, I don't think you need to spend any money to start a side hustle. That's old thinking, okay? Okay, let me explain. Big businesses exist to solve big problems. Small businesses exist to solve small problems. If you're trying to solve a big problem with a small business, it's doomed to fail. For example, think of an airline, okay? Think of American Airlines or, British Airways, whatever. Huge companies, right? But they're solving big problems. They're transporting thousands of people every day all over the world, right? You can't start that type of business in your garage. You really can't, okay? The equipment to get into that business is very expensive, like aircraft and things like this, right? It's just out of the question for a small business, okay? Now, so you don't, and spending money up front is also the old model, okay? Traditionally, if you read a business book from earlier than 20 years ago, they'll say that the way to do entrepreneurship is to spend a bunch of money up front. Okay, you invest money, you create a entity that produces a product or service that could include hiring employees or purchasing equipment or whatever, to create like something that makes a product or service. And then you get your product out there, and then you start selling it, and then you start gradually making money, and eventually you pay back the initial investment, and then you become profitable. Okay, that's the traditional way of doing it. As everybody here knows, because you're seeing me on YouTube, that's not necessarily how you do things anymore. Okay, with things like the internet, things like social media, you can do the opposite. You can turn that entire process on its head. Instead of creating the product first and then finding an audience, you can find your audience first and then create the product. And then when you create the product, you've got an audience already waiting for it, right? So you get the demand first, and then you do the supply, okay? Like what I was doing a second ago. You guys are here, and I'm talking about a course, right? You guys showed up first, and then I created a course. I wouldn't have created a course if I didn't have an audience. That doesn't make any sense. Who am I going to sell it to? Nobody, right? Who would be interested? Nobody, right? This is an example of the sort of newer model, right? Now, if you want an example of a business that solves a small problem, think of recruiters, something I talk about all the time on my channel. What do you need to get into the recruitment and selection game? You need a desk, a phone, and a computer. That's it. Now, a lot of people, you probably have those things already. David, you probably have those things already, okay? You probably got a desk, a computer with internet access, and a phone, okay? A lot of executive recruiters, for example, they use those three things, and they generate a lot of money doing it. People will pay for a good candidate, right? If you're a business and you want to find a good head of a division or something, someone who's going to make good decisions, you're willing to pay for that. If you get the wrong person in there, they're going to cost you potentially millions of dollars. So you want to make the right choice. So you hire a recruiter that knows what they're doing. And what do? They use a computer, a phone, and a desk. to find the right candidate for you. And you don't have many costs. All you're really paying for is your time and maybe, the cost of your internet or something. You know what I'm saying? So that's an example of a business that it's not capital intensive. You don't have to spend any money to start it up. You already have those assets. You got a computer, a desk, and a phone. You just have to start putting your time in, right? Okay, like lawyers, same thing. If you got a law degree, you can go and do stuff, right? If you have that specialized knowledge, you can go and do stuff with a desk, a computer, and a phone. If you can consult on anything, you can advise people, anything like that. You got a desk, a phone, and a computer. If you already have those three things, those are the only things you need to start making money, apart from putting your time in, right? So it's not about like how much money I have. Okay. You shouldn't need any money to start the kernel of your business. Okay. Let's say you want to start a restaurant. Okay. Now that's a traditional business. Okay. Let's just hypothetically, let's use a restaurant. Okay. Now a restaurant requires a physical installation. You need real estate, whether you buy the land or you lease it or, whatever. You need the land, you need the building, you need the specialized equipment in the restaurant. Okay, so those are pretty big capital costs that you have to pay for, right? This model that I'm advocating, it still holds up because what you do is you scale it down. Before you have your restaurant, you have to have your menu, right? Like, the food that you're going to be selling. Usually people go to a restaurant because they like the food, right? So in order for that to work, usually you have your specialized menu, things that you create, like McDonald's has their burgers, Burger King has a different burger, KFC has their chicken. You go there because you like their food. Now, does it take a physical building to start selling your menu? No, of course not. You could scale it down and do a delivery service, right? Okay, now delivery service, the advantage is, although you still have some costs, you have to create the food, like in a kitchen. You don't have to have a physical dining restaurant, right? So it's cheaper. Now, if you're doing delivery, you still have to have a system where you take orders and then you have delivery drivers and blah, blah, right? But you could scale that down. You could do some kind of pickup thing. Okay? If you want to scale that down even further, maybe you could just sell your food frozen to a supermarket. They carry your pizza or whatever in the frozen food section and you sell it to the chain. Now, you're scaling this down to such a degree that now this is doable. All you need is a kitchen. You might even have that in your own house. Okay, if you can figure out how to get it, all the health codes and get it inspected and all that kind of stuff, get a license for it. That's a hell of a lot cheaper than opening the full-blown restaurant, right? So my point is that you can scale down anything. You can start perfecting your menu, your product. Okay? What's the point of spending $300,000 on a restaurant if you don't even know if anyone's going to like your food, right? Huge risk. Well, if you scaled it down to you're just selling the frozen food, and that's a success. Number one, you've invested a lot less money. You've taken a lot less risk. And there's a demand for your product. And then if you start to make money doing that, then you can scale up the next step. And if that works, you can scale up the next step and so on. And then you grow it, right? You don't need a ton of cash to start something. It's actually kind of good sometimes that you don't have that because it's less risky and it allows you to work on what's important first. Yeah, Dark. That's good. Hopefully that makes sense. And David, hopefully that answer was somewhat useful. Shannon says, I have an appointment with a consultant that can help me get my business off the ground. Is it worth spending the money to have a consultant, or is it better to do your own due diligence? It's always better to do your own due diligence. Nobody cares about your prosperity and your success like you do. Okay. So there's no substitute for you learning what to do. Okay. That's the one thing you have is your knowledge of what to do. Okay. And that's going to be customized for everybody. I'm not saying that consultants and advisors can't add any value, but they shouldn't replace you thinking and trying things. The best way to learn is for you to try things, okay? That's the best way to learn. Now, there's a little asterisk there. Try things that aren't super risky. Don't try things that require you spending your life savings, because most things will not be successful. The odds are that most things will not be successful. You do 10 things, 1 or 2 will work. You will stumble upon 1 or 2 things that work, and that's awesome. You add that to your library, to your arsenal of things that work, okay? And then you try 10 more things, and 1 or 2 will work, okay? But 8 or 9 will fail, okay? So the key is being able to repeat this process. You got to do a lather, rinse, repeat, okay, of this process. And if you start, this process of trying things, now, what do you risk? You risk your time being wasted. Okay, that's what you risk. You shouldn't risk thousands and thousands of dollars to learn, okay? If you can help it. And you can help it. There's a smart way of going about doing this, okay? Like I was kind of just saying with the restaurant example, instead of like taking a wild guess and saying, I think people will like this food. I think they'll like hot dogs and with ice cream on it. I think that's the new big thing in the world of food and fast food. Hot dogs with ice cream. You take a hot dog, you put some ice cream on it, right? A little bit of relish, a little bit of horseradish and a cherry on top. I think that's going to be big, right? So what you do is you spend your life savings, you spend like the price of a house, creating a restaurant that sells that. You hire a cooking staff of 15 people, okay? You fix up this building, you get a nice shiny sign on the street, you open to a big fanfare, and then nobody shows up. Because quite frankly, ice cream and relish make you want to retch. So what a way to learn that lesson, right? Did it really take, $300,000 or something to learn that lesson? No, you could have created this in your house, tried to sell it to a few of your friends and family, and if nobody likes it, if everybody says to your face, this is terrible, that probably will tip you off that it's not going to be a huge, amazing hit, right? Okay. Maybe you don't believe your friends and family. Maybe you think these people, they eat, they make scrambled eggs. It falls on the floor. They scoop it off the floor and they eat it. They're a bunch of animals, I wouldn't take their advice for, good taste in food. So maybe you go to the public, you go, I don't know, you have like an event. If you live in a residential area, maybe there's like other people in your community and you bring your food to this event, and either you give it away for free or you charge people $1 for the relish ice cream cherry hot dog. And either nobody buys it or the people that buy it get really, really upset, right? So that'll tip you off also. That's a cheaper, easier way to learn that lesson than opening a whole restaurant, right? So it's about being able to try things and get stuff out there and learn what works, learn what doesn't. And if you do this process where you're trying your ideas, you think of a great idea and then you try it cheaply, easily, quickly, along the way, you will pick up so many tips, what to do and what not to do. And sooner or later, if you have enough of those, you'll know exactly the right way about going about, a good idea. And if you have a good idea that you execute well, you can see success on a small scale. You bring this thing, everybody loves it, right? People come up to you unprompted and say, where can I get more of those? My God, you've got to sell me more of those, right? So you're like, okay. So then maybe it's worth taking the next step with that idea, right? And so on, right? So that's how you learn this stuff. Advisors are good, listening to me or listening to other people, that's fine, right? Some are better than others, right? I'd like to think I'm one of the good ones, but we never know. But there's no substitute for you trying things yourself, okay? Don't be afraid. Overcoming that fear and overcoming this sense of who am I to try this? You can do it. You just got to give yourself permission to do it and not feel weird doing it. Just don't risk a lot. Risk your time. But that's it. Okay? And you will earn the success when it comes, because you didn't just stumble upon something unprepared. You've learned every piece of the puzzle as you've gone. So hopefully that makes sense. There's 28 people here. Get in the chat. I know I'm doing a lot of monologuing, but I'm here to. I thrive on questions. I can only really do this on questions. I have no interest in doing a lecture. I've sat in some really, really boring lectures in my early life. My God, they were boring. They were terrible. It was like physical torture. You know, that feeling of being a student where you hate every second of being in like a class or something, but at the same time, you're stressed out and you're afraid because you might not be doing well in the class. So you have this frantic urgency to like learn everything you can, but you hate every second of it. I've had some experiences like that. I'm sure a lot of people have. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And yeah, so I have no interest in doing that. Miguel is here. Miguel Google, is that your name? Miguel says, hi from Spain. Amazing job you do. Thanks for your help. You're absolutely welcome, Miguel. Miguel, are you in Madrid or where are you in Spain, out of curiosity? Andalusia. Yes. It's really nice in Spain. At least it has been a lot. There's many worse places in the world you could be than Spain. So yeah, it's about trying stuff, and get knowledge. That's how I would do it. I would, a good sort of diet of trying things and learning the knowledge, like learning from books. Okay. Learning from legitimate books. There's a lot of people that will package, their opinions as a business book. Their philosophy as a business book, right? That's the problem. There's a lot of misinformation out there. How do you separate the legitimate stuff from the not so legitimate stuff? Well, there's two things you can do. Like I was saying earlier, read true stories of how people were successful. That sometimes helps. Like if you're going to read sort of a non-textbook, read that kind of thing. Not somebody's like advice, these are the 10 steps to success. Read like, okay, what did this person do to build this company from nothing into the success it was? That's probably more useful. Just that real life story. And, that and just learning the material, like learn marketing. Marketing is an incredibly useful thing. I'm a technical person. Being a salesman is just not my deal. I'm an introvert. I'm detail oriented. I'm technical. Not where I come from. But if you want to be successful in business, you have to know your way around it. It's actually kind of exciting because it's the way you can get your idea to catch on. It's the study of how to make something popular. Like, wouldn't it be cool to know how to make almost anything popular? How to get it out there? How to get people to like it? How to get people to want to buy it? Right? Wouldn't that be cool to know that, to be an expert in that? That's marketing. It's not teaching you how to be a slimy used car salesman with all these cheap techniques and high pressure sales tech. That's not what it is. It's how you can find out somebody's needs, what they're looking for. And then once you know that, how you can deliver something that meets their needs, and then how you can communicate to them like, hey, this thing that you're looking for, I got it. Let me show you, how you can get that out there. Okay, that's marketing. So it's a really fascinating topic, even for people that never thought, they would ever be interested in something like that. It's how to make something popular. That's what it is. So obviously the applications of this are huge, right? Whatever you're doing, I mean, politicians could use these lessons, right? They want to make themselves popular. They want to make themselves appeal to an audience. They've got to get the word out. They've got to communicate it in the way people can understand. They've got to communicate it in a way that people will respond favorably to, right? If you're wanting to sell a product, any type of product, you could be trying to sell toilet plungers, or you could be trying to sell, hot dogs with ice cream on them, right? It applies to everything. You could be trying to sell industrial products, right? You sell a particular type of, widget that's only used by certain people in this industry that solves a very specific problem for a very specific type of equipment, right? Same thing. So learning that is very important. Miguel says, Barcelona. Awesome. Well, it's a very desirable place. It's a holiday. It's a tourist destination, Barcelona. Crazy hot weather here. Yeah, kind of everywhere too, right? That's kind of the theme of these days. Shannon says you are one of the good ones. Thank you. Oh, well, thank you, Shannon. That's very kind of you. It's in subscriber only. Yes, it's in subscriber only mode because I had to do that because originally when I started doing this, I was getting all kinds of spam and all kinds of people saying all kinds of offensive things and stuff. So I had to do something. So I figured okay, you subscribe to my channel, you wait 1 week, and then you can join in the discussion. 1 week. I do this once a week. So you wait one cycle. But I've kind of had to do that because I had people kind of ruining the whole thing by posting a bunch of obscenities and all kinds of crap. So that's where that came in. So there you go. I have to unfortunately wrap this up in a few minutes. My time here in Winnipeg, Canada, it is 9:47 a.m. right now for me. In 13 minutes, I am doing another live stream right here on this channel called How to Get Hired. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned for that. That's where people ask me about job interviews and resumes and getting a job through networking and all that kind of stuff. Any kind of career-related question, okay? This is more of the startup business entrepreneur side of things, which I still maintain to this day. It's an extension of the career thing because starting your own business or doing a side hustle is, another option for people who want to take their career to the next step. Either they're between jobs and they're looking for options. This is an option. Or, you're looking to supplement your income, or you're looking to just go in a different direction. A common thing is for people to enter the job market, maybe be in the corporate world for 10 years, 15 years, maybe even 20 years, and then realize that they don't like it. It's just a miserable experience. And, maybe you have a creative side, right? You don't always want to just be a sheep. You don't want to just conform to rules that somebody else writes. You want to make the rules. You want to go your own path. You want to follow your own, creative flair. You have a desire to, you look at the world and you say, you know what? This is stupid. I think it should be done this way. And most people, that's where it ends. But some people, they say, you know what? I'm going to create that thing. I think it should be done like this. So I'm going to do that. And then we'll see if that catches on. Right? A lot of startup, side hustle, business stuff, it starts with a little bit of a rebellious spirit. I don't think what these people are doing is good enough. I think it should be done this other way. Why doesn't someone come along and do this? And then you decide, you know what? Maybe I'm that person. I should come along and do it. So if you also have that kind of spirit, you have that kind of way of thinking, that's good. Don't let these people beat you into submission, You can, like, doing a side hustle is a great way to kind of encourage that, keep that flame alive, keep that spirit there. Also you can make a bit of money too. I mean, what's not to like? So it's a great thing. Even if it took you hypothetically 3 to 5 years to figure out how to do it, even if it did, just on the side, right? It would still be good. In 3 to 5 years, you could start making a lot of money. And then if you're successful, it could then become your main source of income. You could quit your day job and do that. And there's no ceiling. That's the other wonderful thing about this stuff. There's no ceiling. There's no cap on your income or like where you could take it because you're making the rules, right? Nobody's giving you permission to do it except yourself, really. So Cefi says, thank you for all the knowledge you shared. I'm searching for a job right now for 3 months and learn a lot from you. Well, great. You came to the right place. I'll try and help if I can further. Stick around for the next live stream. That's where we talk about how to get a job and stuff like that. So thank you to everybody who's here. There's 21 people here. You guys are all awesome. I wish you all the best. If you have an interest in doing your own business, you're maybe starting with a side hustle, and who knows where it goes. But if you have an interest in that, this is it's a total cliche to say this, but it's true. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Learn all you can and try some stuff. Don't spend any money, but just try some stuff and give yourself permission to try. Put yourself out there a little bit. You don't have to go way out of your comfort zone, but just a little bit of a new thing for you. Try stuff and learn. Okay? It will pay off in the long run. Thank you so much. I will be back in about 10 minutes on this channel. Take care. And I will be back next week with the next episode of Side Hustle Ideas. Thank you.